Welcome to We Do Virtual Events Live. I am your host here, definitely Zaf Zan, and I am so excited. In case you're new to the show and you just like you're scrolling around and go like, what the heck is this show all about? Well, folks, We Do Virtual Events Live is a talk show featuring trailblazing conversations with global virtual event pathfinders who reimagine the traditional event experience. And you know what? If you're kind of brand new and you're exploring and trying to figure out, I'm not sure if I'm going to do any kind of virtual events, well, this is where you need to be. And today, in this episode, I'm excited to bring on again 5 guests with me to talk about 6 ways to effectively build and grow your community around virtual events. And if you're one of those people who go like, well, I'm a coach, I don't really need a virtual event. Well, sorry, we are in a new normal now, folks. Virtual events is so in, and so are hybrid events. And if you're not even considering any kind of virtual events, you may be missing out. So if you're here, say hello. If you're in the main live stage on Crowdcast with us, still say hello. Boom! Jay is hot from Malaysia is watching. Adrina, welcome to the show. All right, folks, I just want to give you a sneak peek of my 5 guests today. So stay tuned and we will be right back. So, boom, I am back. I am so excited to introduce you to 5 of my guest panelists. We are all going to have a conversation. Yes, imagine we're sitting around at a cafe, at a table, and just, talking shop. The conversation we're having today is 6 ways to effectively build and grow your community around virtual events. You know what, folks? When I started, I remember that I was a facilitator at in-person networking events. I kind of got really, really like exhausted and frustrated trying to get people into the seats in the in-person rooms. And then I discovered, wow, this Google Hangouts on air. I could find a way to get people, even if they're on their toilet seat, to kind of consume the value that I have to offer and bring them into my space. And my 5 guests today are already doing that. So I'm going to say hello to all of them and welcome them to stage. 3, 2, 1, boom! Hey, everybody! Don't forget to unmute yourselves.
Hey!
What's up, Zeph?
We're like on energy today. I did not have coffee yet. Yep, but that's just my, like you all know, right? My energy is always 200 miles per hour. So I know we're gonna bring this on today. Yes. All right. I'm gonna, allow our guests here to kind of do a quick 30 seconds intro, and I'm gonna let Ashley get us started. Ashley, you're on. Oops, I'm doing the wrong screen here.
Hi, everybody. My name is Ashley Owens. I'm a networking concierge. My job is to train, educate, and connect and collaborate with individuals who are looking to grow their network by networking with intention. So thank you so much, Zev, for having me here today.
Boom! And the only torn among the roses today. Very special. Patrick and his angels.
That's right, Zeph. What's going on, Zeph? How are you?
What's going on, Patrick?
My name is Patrick Jackman. I'm the founder and coach of the Jackman Group. We are a training and development group focusing on leaders and team enhancement. I also am the host of the 30, a weekly broadcast, and the host of the Lunch and Learn, a monthly forum where we bring together leaders, entrepreneurs, and small business owners.
Boom. All right, I'm gonna make Sammy go first because I'm gonna, let her get us pumped up.
I'm
so mild and meek. Hello, Zeph. Thank you for the invite. I am glad to be here with this lovely panel. So I am Samantha Williams. I wear several hats. I am the president and CEO of Samsware, which is a writing and content development company. Also the president and CEO of 628 Digital Design, which is a digital content design agency. Owner of Melanated Business Coaching, providing business coaching for Black women in business. And also the president and founder of the Collaboration of Minority Women Professionals. Check us out, cmwpnetworking.com.
Boom. Can you tell she does wear a lot of hats, doesn't she? She's just like putting it all out there. All right, I'm going to have Julia go next.
There's Sammy. Hi, I am Julia Gambali, and I also, my very first business is She's So Social, and it's almost a teenager, 12 years old. And I'm also a partner at Agents of Branding. We do branding and communications. I'm part of Sammy's team at 628 Digital Design. I am a knownpreneur instructor, and I also run Digital Media Sync, which is what I'm going to talk about mostly today. Digital Media Sync was an in-person networking event that I turned into a live stream using StreamYard like we are today. And it's on Facebook and YouTube, and I think I'm on like my 62nd or 63rd episode.
You're so funny. Last but not least, all the way from Istanbul, Turkey, Pixie.
Hi guys. Thank you so much for having me. Pixie Cigar. It's a real name, by the way. I get asked that one a lot. I just can't help it, you know. So I am a professional community builder. I've been working since China 10 years ago, building communities in NGOs, startups, legal tech. Anything that I can build a community, I get really excited on. Focusing mainly China, Southeast Asia, and now going to be starting globally as well. So thanks for having me.
Boom, boom, boom. Oh, I'm so excited. And for some of you who are still catching up and playing like, who is this girl? Well, I am actually the creator and founder here at We Do Virtual Events Live. Really was inspired by bringing all my tribe together who have been, in the virtual events world for a while. And I said, with all this virtual events platform and during pandemic, people just figuring out how do I leverage virtual events to connect and meet other people? Well, I brought this idea together, and I'm so blessed to have a tribe and community of folks who are able to share their experiences. But before that, let me just quickly say a quick hello to Rosa, who is chiming in from Canada, I believe. Hi, Rosa. Good morning. And Eddie, yes. Eddie, thank you for tuning in. And Rohit, you're watching on our main live stage, so welcome all. All right, just to let everybody know what to expect in this show, in the first 30 minutes, we're going to have two questions that we're going to just, make it as a guide for our conversation this morning or this afternoon or this evening, wherever you are in the world. Whew. And just to have a great conversation about, building and growing your online community. So I'm going to get started, and then we are two questions. We'll take turns, just like cafe talk kind of thing. And then the second half, we're going to play some games. All right. So let's put this question number one and get us all started. Now, question number one is, what is your go-to virtual event strategy for building and growing your community? Name one. All right, let's get Pixie to get us started here.
Well, so when you had that question for me, I was thinking, okay, out of the 200 different things that you can do, what is the one thing that is really important?
Yes.
For me, it's scale, because I started out dealing with 10 people to kind of community, now to over 50, nearly 100,000 members. So what's important to me is scalability. I can't do everything myself. No matter anyone's here, we can't split our bodies. So member-generated content is my number one tip, because I want to make sure that the content in the community, one, is very relevant to the members. Secondly, I can get them to conduct events, whether it be in Facebook group by live stream, virtual study group, it could be on Clubhouse like what Sam has, all of these different things, but making sure that they're speaking with our brand's voice, speaking with the same goal. So it's very important for me to ensure that the kind of ambassadors or the key members are aligned with our goals, and we get them to go out and do things, which is really amazing, because when someone contributes to the community, they're more likely to contribute more and have more brand love towards it. then our own community team, I don't need to do 10 events per week. I just need to talk to the team and ensure that they're aligned and they can do 100 events. So if you see like all these big companies, whether it be with Salesforce, Google, all of their community scaled because they mobilize member generated content. So that's my number one tip for this.
I love that scalability. It's so true, because when you have a tribe, when you have a virtual community, you basically say, hey, Julia, Ashley, Patrick, can you share this to hundreds of your folks right out there? And suddenly within a minute, you get that massive shout out to folks around the world. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. And I just want to maybe have Patrick chime in on this.
Sure. My go-to, I think I have two, but I'll narrow it down to one, Zeph, because you asked for one. I think it's consistency, right? Because if I'm going to show up, one show is on Thursday, every Thursday. The other one now is every Tuesday. So I have to be there consistently. If I'm not there, what is that saying to my community? So consistency is the key. And whether I am sick, whether I'm feeling up or down, they expect me to be there and to produce. So consistency is one. I'm going to give you another one. Be purposeful in everything that you do, because that is what the community is looking for from you as the leader, from you as the host. So consistency and being purposeful. Those are my two.
I love that you say consistency and being purposeful. So I'm going to share a little bit about what I, had achieved by just showing up and being consistent in the past. When I started this journey, like virtual events, I too started in live broadcasting. What happened was, I remember the year when, God, this will date me all the way back, like dinosaur age. But when Black was around, it was kind of like integrated with Twitter. And what happened was, I never was on Twitter. I'm having goosies just talking about it because this is a story about, like, we talk about virtual events going virtual, right? One of the big things was, this is just kudos to being online. Never a Twitter person, did not want to be on Twitter, and suddenly I was just like, I'm just gonna just tweet it all out, right? Because Black has that integration. I had 50 people following me on Twitter every hour. And I was like, wait, what the heck just happened? So that was just like showing up consistently in my own, event, on other people's shows and all that stuff. And what you just said there just now was just huge, because showing up consistently is the key. One of the key reasons virtual events will help you build a great community. I'm also going to go to next. I'm going to put Sammy on.
Hey, so I do a lot of that community building through Clubhouse. Our collaboration of minority women professionals, we have 14,000 members on Clubhouse. And like Patrick was saying, that consistency is key, because they do expect you to show up. When you're publishing a show on Clubhouse every specific day at this time, this week, whatever you're doing, people are ready for that. So what you need to do is make sure you're showing up and you're letting your squad know to show up too, right? You need to be publishing it on social media. You need to be sharing it with your networks. It doesn't make any sense to be hosting a virtual event and then keeping it to yourself. So I make sure I'm showing up in my Facebook groups. I'm publishing it. I published something in Facebook groups last week, and my colleague, Letitia Douglas, also the VP of my collaboration, she said, wow, I saw that post in maybe 12 different Facebook groups. That's right, because people need to know about it. Otherwise, who's going to show up to your event?
Yeah. Love that you say that. So I'm going to put that up. So Sammy said, publish and share when you show up. And Sammy, let me ask you this, because I've not been a pro yet on Clubhouse. And I love that you said publish and share, because one of the, for me at least, because I'm such a visual person, that's why I show up in live videos. For me, how would you recommend when people want to publish and share their presence or showing up on Clubhouse? What would you recommend them do to kind of say, like, hey, everybody, I'm on Clubhouse today? What would be
First, go into Clubhouse and share your event. You can actually just share to whichever platform you want to share directly through Clubhouse. People, once you share it, people can add that event to their calendar. And that
Yes.
event takes them directly to your club. That event link takes them directly to your clubhouse event when it's starting. So they have a visual reminder, they have a digital reminder, and they have access. They know exactly where they're going because the link on their calendar invite takes them directly there. The same for when you're sharing across platforms. Make sure you're including that link. Make sure you're including, the key points, right? Date,
Yes.
time, location, who's included, what is your topic, right? If your topic is going to change from event to event, you want to make sure people understand what they're showing up for.
Yes, I love that. People, that's a strategy, that figuring out like how you would be publishing and sharing. Ashley.
So I think that the most important thing that I think when you're building out a virtual platform and to building that community is knowing your audience. If you go in there kind of half-cocked and going in and saying, hey, I can do all these things, or this is what I think my audience needs, without actually doing the research or asking the question, you're going to have an event that may fulfill the needs that you have, but not necessarily the needs of your members or your loyal subscribers. So my biggest thing, especially with around data, is operating at a point where you're utilizing the event to help or educate or connect or collaborate with other individuals that are part of the community. So the best way is to know them. How are you helping them? How are you being of service to them? And so having a really good, robust system, having a really good tool that gathers all of their interests, their likes, what they're hoping to get out of the event is really going to be able to make it feel like it's customized to them, and it provides more of a community effort because everyone has the commonality of being there. So I think the biggest thing is making sure that you have the right technology to support the kind of community that you're looking to build, so that way you're being of service rather than just putting out things you think that they want to know, but really putting out content and an event that helps them from a deeper level.
I love that you mentioned about knowing your audience, because yes, part of the strategy is knowing your audience, because if you don't know your audience, it's going to be a challenge creating the right content. I just had this conversation with someone on LinkedIn, and the question was, content creation, what is like the biggest challenge and all that stuff. And I did say, a big part is just knowing the right content, right? And knowing that right content, we all need to be creating is knowing your audience. So thank you for sharing that. Julia, you're up next.
Hi. So the name of my first company is She's So Social, right? Which means that I'm really all about conversations and relationships. And I'm also about process. So I think it's really important to have a solid conversation cycle process. And what that means is the conversation doesn't end when the live event ends, or the live show. So when I'm doing my live streaming, I'm talking about topics that people are interested in. They need information. We are having dialogue about that. And I want that to continue. So I bring that into my groups, like my Facebook group or my LinkedIn group, that sort of thing. And that builds on not only a database, right? Because the database is so cold, but also builds the relationships. And I know that there's people I can continue to have conversations with. I can bring them online. Like you and I, Zeph, will have, conversations. I'll say, hey, can you come on my show? And you'll be like, hey, can you come on my show? That is something that's continual. It's a process. It's a relationship.
Absolutely. And I think a big part of what you just said is really the engagement too, because, part of that process of engaging with people doesn't have to stop when the show ends. And it's so important that we all understand that, right? So I love that. For me, here's my thought process. And the question for folks, if you're just tuning in, this is the show. We're having a conversation about 6 ways to effectively build and grow your community around virtual events. Folks, if you're here live with us, please say hello in the comments so we can say hello to you right back. Don't be shy. That's the reason why we have comments in there. Hello. We talk about engagement, and this is your chance to engage with us. For me, how I have my strategy, my virtual event strategy has really been focused on live video conversations. And to what you just said, Julia, is the fact that I feel doesn't matter which event platform you're on and which a virtual event format that you actually engage in, whether it's a webinar, whether it's a full-blown virtual event where you leverage an actual virtual event platform, like, the new ones are Hopin, Cubulo and all that stuff. But a big part of it is having this live conversation, right? So I have 5 other guests with me. I'm having a live conversation. It's just like I'm sitting down at a cafe table and just, Angela, and it's suddenly this masterminding happens in real time. And that's the reason why I love about live video conversations, because it's not recorded, it's not video on demand, and that's the reason why Patrick has it. Ashley does it. And Sammy is here. So that's the reason why my virtual event strategy has been consistent by showing up on live videos and live video conversations. I feel, I don't have to wait and go like, hey, Sammy, I'm going to send Sammy 10 different text messages because I can have a conversation with her right now. We all have 7 to 10 seconds attention span. And I feel like being in the same space, having a live video conversation changes the game of us connecting and engaging with one another. Boom! If that is something that resonates with all of you, I'd like to hear what your thoughts are on this conversation. But before that, I'm going to do a 10 seconds intermission and I'll be right back. Welcome back, folks. If you're watching with us, you're tuning in live with us right here, say hello so we can say hello to you back. I see people watching, but y'all are just quiet like bunnies out there. So say hello in the comments. We can put up your comments on the screen right here. This is a panel having a conversation about 6 ways to effectively build and grow your community around virtual events. We'd also like to hear how you're building and growing your virtual community through virtual events. Put it in the comments in there. Somebody actually said hello. Rosa says yes. Hi, Rosa. She says yes, it sure does, Zeph. There's nothing like a live conversation to change the dynamics, engagements with others. Absolutely, right? Because we're also busy people. We have 7 to 10 seconds attention span. If I can get each and every one of you in a live conversation right here, we hit 10 points and we're all set. All right, here's part 2 of the question. We're going to go around and answer this. Question number 2: what are some examples of how to build an engaging online community that promotes active participation? I don't know, sometimes, just like the demonstration I had right here, sometimes I have to shout out and let you all know, like, you can drop a comment and have an engagement with us. So how are you all, actively encouraging members of your community to actively participate? Sammy, would you like to get us started?
I mean, I feel like Pixie was saying earlier, like all of these strategies, like which one to pick, right? I think we talked about being consistent, and one is you yourself being passionate about your event and what you're doing, and let people see it and feel it. Because if you're not caring about it, right? If it doesn't mean much to you, then why would anybody else? And people pick up on energy. So having that right energy around your different virtual groups and community can really spark interest and make people say, oh, you know what? I've seen your pictures about this. I've heard your audio, right? And this sounds like a really great conversation that I also want to tap into. People get that fear of missing out, right?
I was just going to say, we all suffer from FOMO.
Yes. Give them that FOMO. I do it all the time. Oh, you weren't there? Look at what you missed. This is what we talked about. You didn't come? That's your fault. Yes.
Exactly. I love that you say that, because it's true. And this FOMO thing has really started during this whole huge live video conversation era culture, because people go like, oh my God, just like we don't want to miss out on a great sale. We don't want to miss out on a great opportunity and conversation.
Exactly.
So thank you for sharing that. And Rosa says, I do mine by holding bi-weekly networking events named Town Hall Gathering of Hearts and Minds in Business, building my tribe beautifully that way. Boom! There you go. That's a great example. I am going to put Pixie on.
Again, the 200 different ways of doing things. So I think I will build on to my initial answer, right? I was talking about focusing on the scalability, right? So if looking at scale at heart, right, you're not looking at just 1,000 people, a few hundred people during one live stream and one call, for example. I'm looking at least 50,000 members inside the group, and how can I keep mobilizing them? So number one thing I want to look at is I want to build a user journey at each stage. I want to understand who they are, obviously, and see that like, okay, I'm breaking up from onboarding to maybe them growth stage, and every stage I'll be able to target different kind of activities and reasons for them to kind of engage. So whether it be having a very clear FAQ, to onboarding events, to workshops, to happy hour, and then gradually getting them through this community engagement curve that they are end up looking at like, okay, this is my community. I want to decide the kind of content that's happening here. I'm gonna go host a study group. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna say, Pixie, hey, in my city, there's no one really doing events. I'm gonna volunteer and do that. And that's what I want to see. I want to be able to scale it, but I also know that you're not gonna get someone to contribute from day one. You need to, as the community builder, trigger conversation, trigger them to introduce themselves, trigger them to like, hey, I want to grow my business. I'm an e-commerce group. Here's a course, here's a masterclass happening in 1 week. Everyone's going, I'm gonna miss out. So there's that FOMO element too, right? So I want to look at the big picture like that.
I love that you mentioned trigger the conversation, because many of us, and I sometimes am guilty of this, because I forget like who's in the, who's in my group, and who am I calling out to, right? And sometimes, I keep calling on the same person because I really forget who's in there, just because members don't really participate. And I have one group right now, which is like people are silent. I don't know what it is, but there's also one dynamic that I had learned, where are your audiences? So that's kind of like where I need to remember my audiences for this region. They're big maybe on WhatsApp. I have to trigger the conversation on WhatsApp. My region on the US, Canada side, or the UK side, they're big in this side of the social media platform. Then I need to trigger the conversation there. That's one of the things I think that many of us have had to juggle. So I love that you share trigger the conversation, because if we're not sparking those conversation, sometimes people just like, and we can't create that FOMO. All right, I'm gonna have Ashley share.
Sure. I think the biggest thing and the most robust communities that I found is structure. So if you've got a mastermind group, or if you've got a couple of events that are going around, if they're not structured in a way that people can at least prepare for these meetings, because put it this way, not everybody is an extrovert. There's introverts that need to be prepared before they go to these meetings, before they, connect with other people in the community. So structure is number one, having an agenda and just giving people an idea of the flow. And the best, communities that I've been a part of have this structure where they've got somebody who is so on point with how they run the event or the meeting or the mastermind group that it just feels like it's, what to expect, what to prepare. And then there's also room for, messing around and like getting, laughing at people, making jokes and things like that. But you're done at a certain point, and with all the Zoom fatigue and how everything is virtual right now and the hybrid mentality, it's a lot for people to manage. So if there's one thing that I would suggest to build and to keep and to maintain this community is to have some structure, so people feel like it's a routine rather than like, oh, I'm going to jump on this. What am I going to expect? And that takes a lot of emotional and energy drain from people. So structure would be the number one thing.
I love that you just said that. Structure. Boom. For me, that's a boom, because here's when I like to share a little bit. When I started live broadcasting, if Patrick and any one of you here who are doing weekly live broadcasts, do you remember when we first started? I've had crickets and go like, okay. And then I learned about structuring the show by like, hey, I'm going to show up at 8 p.m. every Monday, because it's just like us watching NCIS, right? It's 8 p.m. on Tuesdays, on CBS, whatever channel it's on. It's just a structure of letting people people know, your community know when you're going to show up. So this all kind of ties up, right? Having a structure, showing up consistently, scalable ability, because when we actually do this all and put it all together, that's that's the path to building and growing our online community. Boom! I love that you mentioned that. All right, Julia.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so I'm gonna steal something from another sector that I'm in, which is crowdfunding
Steal.
and fundraising. And it was something that one of my business partners had talked about, and it's called seeding the tip jar. And what that means in this specific occasion is, you know who your fans are 100%, no matter what your venture is. You know who they are. There's 10 of them, there's 20 of them, there's 50 of them. And what it means to seed the tip jar in here is to let those people know first what you're doing, and that you want to give them a specific thing that you want them to do in order to not hear crickets, and say, hey, Julia, I'm going to be doing this thing. Can you jump in and talk about like your experience with this? Hey, Sammy, I know that you're really great at this. Can you jump in at this point and throw a comment down really quick for me? I don't care if you jump out of it like in 10 minutes, if you have something else to do, but start getting those people involved first. Start telling them to tell their friends. So you're really kind of like, you're peeling the layers. You're starting at the core, and you're starting to go outside of that core to get more and more people involved. But you're giving them very specific things that you're asking them to do. When you're asking people to give of themselves in a very specific way, it's easier for them to do it because you're giving them the tools that they need.
Ooh, I love that you just said, ask them in a specific way. And that is so true, because sometimes we just say, hey, you just do this, just that, without being specific about what we're asking for, right? Of course, if somebody asks me like a generic question, I'm gonna go like, you're asking me to do work. Yeah, exactly. So having very specific asks helps a lot. And Rosa said here, the more I do this, the more I realize how valuable structure is. Everybody needs that. Thanks, Ashley. Woohoo! Love that. I love seeding the tip jar, and we do have a community. So ask specific people. And what I've done sometimes in my group, and I just say, oh my God, I know somebody loves this, this topic of tools. I'm going to shout out to say Scott Gombar. I'm just doing a shout out to you right now. Like, Scott Gombar, can you help somebody? Yes, Scott. Scott. Yeah, there you go. Scott Gombar, like, can you help me with this cybersecurity issue? And stuff like that, creates conversation, triggers conversation. So thank you for mentioning that. Patrick, what's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so my thought, this is great information, Zeph. Ladies, awesome. The first one is to step out of your comfort zone. So I'm probably the newest to live streaming, live events. I'm only about 16 months in, and I've had to learn to really step out of my comfort zone. By nature, I'm an introvert, but I've had to step out of my comfort zone online. It says, hey, this is who I am. And I've had to share some things that I probably didn't want to share, right? So the first thing is step out of your comfort zone. Next one is to build relationships with your community. Because if they don't feel like if you're connected with them, why should they be connected with you?
Love it.
So relationships is a key. And as Julia said, you have to ask for it if you want it, but be persistent and be consistent in your ask over and over and over and over again.
Repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and
Yes.
repeat.
That's
And
it.
if you don't do that, well, you're just going to lose momentum. And that's the truth. And Rosa says, Rosa, we love you, by the way, for having this engagement on the sidebar with us right now, because we just love engagement. So she says, seeding the tip jar, love the term, great reminders. I sometimes forget, and I see the difference it makes. Wow. Thanks, Julia. Thanks, Rosa, for being here. All right, folks, I'm going to go for a quick intermission, and we will be right back in 30 seconds.
Explore and discover with us why virtual events are becoming more essential to what you do and how you connect with the audience. How to choose the right type of virtual event for you. What kind of tools and resources are needed to produce your virtual event? How to pick the right virtual event service providers. How to monetize and profit from your virtual event. For more exclusive content, resources, and opportunities regarding virtual events, join our online community.
All right, folks. If you're just tuning in or watching this on replay, you are watching We Do Virtual Events Live, episode 11. Wow. And next week is our last show before we go on to bigger, better things. But this is a conversation about 6 ways to effectively build and grow your community around virtual events. And 5 of my guests. Oh, we have somebody.
Mark Abraham from Data Haven and the research.
Is somebody not muted? Anyway, sorry about that. I got distracted just because I hear things in my ears. Anyways, I just want to say, you're watching We Do Virtual Events Live, 6 ways to effectively build and grow your community around virtual events. See, when we go live, we really roll with the punches. I don't care what's in my ears, but I just have to show up. That's it. Let me just put this up because what we're going to do next, folks, is we're going to play a game. Everybody up? We're going to do the Wheel Picker. Boom. Now, how this is going to work, folks, is I have this wheel and we're going to spin it. And when we spin it, there's questions. I'm going to pick the first person. We'll have about 30 seconds, 45 seconds to answer. And then that person picks up another person to answer the next question on the spin wheel. Are you all ready? Ready to play?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay, here I go. I'll spin and I will call on, based on what I see on my left screen. Patrick, you're going first. Here we go.
Okay.
Okay, so how can virtual networking event organizers create ongoing community engagement? And I think I would love to hear your thoughts, especially, not only, pre-event, during event, but also post-event, Patrick.
Yeah, so the key again is you have to be consistent. I go back to that, right? And everything that you do, and be purposeful and everything. So you have to have a plan. To meet those things, you have to start with a plan. What are you going to do? The before, the during, and the after. And the most critical aspect is the follow-up or the follow-through. So we all get excited about the beginning. We're going to do this thing. The event is going to go great. People show up. Well, maybe not everyone that we expected, but what happens after? Because your plan is to do something else down the road, right? So you have to nurse that and nurture your community. So the follow-up and the follow-through, to me, is the most important part of virtual events.
I love that you mentioned that because it was just giving me Zav Goosies. If y'all don't know this, I have a hashtag Zav Goosies. Go around the web and find Zav Goosies. That just gave me goosies because I was just about to say follow up and follow through because many of us suck at doing it. Oops, excuse my French. But the fact that we all don't do a great job at following up and following through, leveraging virtual events, I feel gives us more opportunity to keep the conversation going. Leverage it, people. Leverage the technology. Leverage the ways that we can still engage post-event. I just want to put up a few comments because I see all these comments coming up and they're all good. Rosa says, "You're my peeps, of course, and Jay is hot says, "Loving the tips, thanks." And she also says, "Consistency need commitment." Boom. And Rosa also said, "This is so up my alley, Zav. I'm loving every minute of it. This is my shtick. You guys rock." Thanks for being here. And I am going to let Patrick pick the next person when I put up this next question. All right. Are we ready, Patrick, to spin this wheel again?
I am ready. Let's go.
Let's go. Patrick, would you please read the question and ask the person you want to ask it to?
The question is, what has been the biggest challenge building an online community for you? And I am going to go to Sam because Sam is involved with so many different communities. Sam, this is yours.
So I actually have this challenge in a Facebook group, and that is getting people engaged, building engagement. But it's also because we're so busy, we're not actively posting and contributing to the group. So we want people to show up, but we are too busy to post. So they really have nothing to show up to. So one is showing up, being consistent, and then getting that engagement. So right now I have a group that's struggling with engagement.
And we just need to trigger the conversation now. And so what would you recommend, Sammy? Because you mentioned the challenge of, creating content in a way to post something new or post something, right? What would you recommend? Because we know we're all busy people. How can we manage that?
So part of one of the hats I wear at 628 is we do social media management. And one of the things, the tips I tell people all the time is pre-schedule your content. There are tools where you can pre-schedule to groups and you can pre-schedule to pages. Some tools allow you to also schedule to personal social media pages. So find the tools that work for you. That way you're not like, oh God, it's a Wednesday at 12 and I don't have anything to post. It's already done. So I always say carve out sometimes. I used to call it like social media scheduling Sunday. And I would take some time on Sunday, a couple of hours, build out my content, create a strategy first, build out my content, and then pre-schedule it. That way I don't have to worry about it. I wear too many hats. We're all busy. Use those tools and get your content scheduled, but you need engaging content that's different from everybody. You don't want to keep posting the same thing everybody in other groups are posting, the same questions, the same boring questions. What do we do for self-care, right? You want to make sure that you have impactful, thoughtful questions that gets the people going.
Boom. So that you can also create that FOMO you were talking about. Yeah, FOMO, everybody. All right, here we go. Ready to spin, Sammy?
I am ready, and I'm going to give it to Pixie.
Oh, before the question comes up, she goes, I'm picking you, Pixie.
Right, keep on your toes.
Yeah. Go ahead, read it to Pixie.
Based on your experience, how do you think emerging virtual event formats can better serve your audiences? Can you please give us an example?
Sure thing. So number one, it helps connect people beyond borders. So put into example that I was working with Alibaba, and so we had a group of about 26,000 people, and it could grow even bigger because the community size is about 100,000. And at the beginning, we were very local. We were having events in this city and that city, and each event you can only host like 100 people, right? And we have our yearly few thousand conference, but that is an extreme small percentage of our actual community size. And I don't know why we didn't go virtual. Like, we were doing a lot of online trainings and all that things, but the blessing and curse of COVID kind of forced us to be like, we can't wait to see each other, to talk to each other. We can't do that. And also, one thing I believe strongly into is that, yes, I am a very social butterfly. I talk a lot, and I'm that kind of personality, but it doesn't mean that. Exactly. And that's I think that is the first thing in our JD, right? We need to have this kind of personality. But the reality is that most people are not like that, for better or for worse, because some people prefer to be quiet and listen in. And I noticed that, at least on my side, a lot of the events I used to organize, it kind of favored the active, favored the loud. Like, it made people who are more social, more comfortable. Yeah. And when you have virtual events, especially designed in different formats, you're able to give those people that prefer small group a chance to talk. So we have our large conferences of few thousand people now online. We have our kind of weekly trainings in different languages, because we are able to scale because we're online, right? I'm not thinking like, oh, I have to get a special translator. No, I can find different trainers, different languages, reach out to different groups. If you prefer the big group, you maybe want a small mentorship session with only 3 other people. I'm able to do that virtually, purely just based on the dollar bills there, because I can scale. And that's what virtual brings. And I think it's very exciting. And with, even if COVID goes away, hopefully, fingers crossed, I'll still be doing that, because it's proven by the data and by just sheer community and by scale that having virtual events, you'll be able to do more.
I love that you shared this, and I just have goosies too, because this is one of the reasons why I started the show, right? Because I said there needs to be a conversation and sharing about everybody's experience with virtual events. So you touched a little bit about being, that social butterfly, and that here's Patrick, who just said, I'm a little bit introvert, but he's also,
I don't believe him.
I know. See, this is what I say.
Like, no.
He's hosting weekly shows. Like, how many shows already, Patrick? Like,
Come on.
he's like, he just like played it down and like, yeah, but I just like the newest year. I'm like, really? I don't feel it that way.
Thanks for calling me out, Zeph. Thanks. Thanks a lot.
But Patrick, this is why I make these shows, or I create these shows, so that people out there can resonate with people on the panel, right? Because we're gonna go like, oh my God, I'm exactly like Patrick. Maybe I should try doing live, video, because this is exactly the example I want people to experience. Because if we don't do these conversations on a show like this, we're gonna take a lot more time in person rooms to get this conversation going. Y'all agree? Because with this power of event technology and then live broadcasting, we can just put it out there and create a lot of FOMO, like Sammy said, right?
That's right.
Now another introvert is gonna learn like, oh my God, if Patrick can do it, I can do it. I'll figure this out. So Patrick, I mean, like, kudos to you. I have another gal in Alabama. I started the show with her. She's an introvert. Now she's like rocking out live videos, and I'm looking at her, who are you, girl? She goes like, you're the reason why I'm here. But I said the reason is live video conversations allow us to be who we are, right? You create the content the way you feel right for you, and then it makes us all comfortable. Can you share a little bit about your experience there, Patrick, if I'm spot on in sharing that?
Sure. Yeah, sometimes circumstance dictates your actions.
Yep.
Right? So my natural piece is behind the scenes, creating stuff. But when COVID hit, I was forced to come out front, which was not natural, because our company was more in terms of in-person training and delivering content. But with COVID, when everything dried up, now I had to pivot and start to do something totally different. Again, right? Sometimes situations dictate your actions. So you have to do something different if you want to be successful. So as a result, I had to come out front, which is not my natural piece, but come in front of a camera and then start to talk about things, interview others. I'm like, holy macro, wholly different world for me.
Stretching you a little bit there,
right. But I also tell folks is that what happens is if you really want to be comfortable, you're not growing. Growth is only experience when you decide to take a step out of your box.
I love it.
So
and I love that you shared that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes.
You're welcome.
And I love something that you mentioned, and I'm sure every of my guest panel here can resonate. I don't know, but because Ashley, you're the networking expert here, so I'm going to kind of put you on spot here a little bit, because what Pixie just said about us being in rooms, and she's trying to figure out like, why did Alibaba do any kind of virtual events? But here's my thoughts, right? Because when we go to in-person events, we actually see people in different rooms and we get excited, and that's technology now that can help us like deliver the same experience right now. And just to what you said there, Patrick, the pandemic hit, and then we all had to figure out what our new normal is. And I don't know if any one of you have ever had this experience where maybe a client or somebody I'll never be on camera, I'll never be on video because I show up in person. I'm like, okay. All right. And then the pandemic hit. Suddenly, everybody, I see Patrick goes like that. But when the pandemic hit, everybody had to figure out really quickly another way of doing things. Actually, do you see this a lot in networking?
I mean, you hit it on the head. I think that a lot of people had to pivot, and people who were stuck in their ways did not do well during the pandemic. I'm talking about business owners, the people who are entrepreneurs, who every day is a fire, pivoted very well. And I'm saying they were able to adjust to the new, to whatever that they had to do. Digitally, I think that when it comes to networking, I can only speak on experience and from what I talk to my clients about, is that I have been able to truly expand my network exponentially because of logistics around the act of networking. So I've been able to, and my clients have been able to network even more because they're on weekly calls with the same people and they're actually able to network with more intention and give them the introductions and provide them with referrals because consistently on a weekly basis they're being reminded. It's kind of like an email campaign, but like you're talking to the person one-on-one. And that's why structure is so important because it allows you to, take your trash brain and put it in the trash and then be able to focus on the people they need to focus on. The in-person events are important, but the trend that I'm seeing a lot is that people are being more intentional about who they network with. So they can say no to the meeting if they're not necessarily in person, but they also know and they can look up information about this person to see if it's a good fit for collaboration purposes rather than just meeting somebody randomly based off of circumstance, environment, food, if there's booze involved, like there's so many other things that come with it. And networking online can be done so much more effectively with more intention by having that dedicated 15 to 30 minutes to really get to know that person because your focus is solely on that. That's the trend that I'm seeing is that my network grew exponentially because of the content that I was putting out was all educational. And then I reached out to people who commented or liked and said, hey, I'd like to know what you're doing. Tell me about your business with having zero expectations. But you do that on a consistent basis. Your network grows. You build up a CRM tool that actually allows you to keep track of the kinds of people that they're looking to meet. So then you're putting tools in place to be more of service. Excuse me. Coffee has not hit it yet. So think about those opportunities that you have, but like networking with intention is so much deeper when you have technology that helps you connect the dots. Networking, sometimes people think that it's just building relationships. It absolutely 100% is, but what does that mean? Like, what does that actually mean? Relationships can be built in so many different layers, but if you are being of service to that person and providing them with values and tools and resources, you're able to maintain those relationships way better than before. And it also, you're in front of your computer. If you need to take a note or send them over something, you don't have to wait 24 hours after the event. You can do it right there. So logistically, it's easier. And you can do more at the same time. So those are my 2 cents.
I love that you mentioned that because here's the thing, right? So many people pre-pandemic think that's only one way of doing things, including connecting, engaging, meeting people, right? Now, the technology has given us so much opportunities, so many opportunities to kind of, get together in a quick way with just a click on your phone, maybe, right? Because what has we have experienced, in fact, Sammy could even, because Sammy and I belong to the same networking group, and we've seen people from beyond our local space, right, Sammy? Because suddenly everybody's showing up because it's just like suddenly we made new friends all over the world. Just like I'm meeting new friends, Pixie from Istanbul. Like, hello, this is what we're talking about. So thank you for sharing that. And I just want to take a quick, before we go, just want to do a quick 10 seconds break here and then come back to kind of wrap up the show. We'll be right back, everybody. Well, I'm so blessed to have a tribe of virtual event pathfinders. I call them because they've been leveraging virtual events for everything that they do, and this is why I started this show called We Do Virtual Events Live. It's just a talk show featuring trailblazing conversations with global virtual event pathfinders who reimagine the traditional event experience. And for me, I'm very excited because if you're watching this, there's a spin-off to this show, and that's September 15th, and we're putting together, all right, so if you don't have any plans for September 15, I want you to check this out, all right. It's a virtual networking expo that we're putting together for virtual event explorers. You can get all the information at we do virtual events.live/VN Expo. It is a networking and educational event for event organizers, business owners, and educators, right? I just want to put this and share this with you so you can get that information. And in case for you're wondering like, what is this conversation all about? If you're watching this replay, we're having a conversation about 6 ways to effectively build and grow your community around virtual events. So I'm gonna invite my guests back because we want to wrap up the show by this question. I want to ask each and every one of you if you can share, in under 1 minute, basically, where do you see the future of virtual events? How are you reimagining the virtual event experience? Patrick, would you get us started, please?
Sure. I see virtual events is here to stay. I don't think it's going away. Some people want to meet in person. I'm not sure yet. Then you're talking about a hybrid. But I think based on what Pitsy said about being able to connect with people around the world, I look at your community, Zeph, where you have communities all over the world. How could you have done that without virtual events and without going live virtually? So I think for me, virtual events is here to stay so that we can quickly get in contact with others from all across the world, all cultures, all time zones.
Zeph, you're muted. We can't hear you.
Zeph's trying to be muted.
All of us were like, no.
You're muted.
It would be a clip for funnies. What I was saying is this, folks, what you mentioned earlier about, Patrick, me having a meet of people from all over the world. Yes, absolutely right. Had I not, taken this path of live video conversations, I would not have been able to meet people across all the different borders and continents in such a fast time. I'm pinching myself right now just because I'm looking at the 12-week show that, we're ending next week, August 25th. I literally had booked 55 speakers. And I'm thinking, like, how did I do this? It's because the connections that I've built on this live platform, the live virtual live event platform, and I'm having live conversations in real time with people. I'm able to show up consistently with everyone that I've invited to the show. I'm having Zeph Goosey. And that's the reason why, I'm able to bring 55 people from my tribe to be a part of this journey. Boom. That said, I'm going to let Ashley give us her take on the future of virtual events.
Future of virtual events are going to be hybrid, and what you do with that information is going to be more important now more than ever to figure out how to educate your audience. Networking and events and everything in between comes with how are you connecting, collaborating, and celebrating the people that you have the pleasure and the privilege to build a community with. So be intentional. People do not have time anymore to just have random one-on-one conversations. They're trying to juggle a bunch of jobs, their families, whatever it may be. So the future of events right now is going to be hybrid. It has to be, to give everybody the opportunity to engage in a way. But yeah,
boom. And if you're not engaging, you're gonna be missing out. All right, Sammy.
So I think you have to capitalize on the virtual event space and the different platforms and features available. Look for tools, connect with Zeph, right? She knows this stuff, but look for the tools that are out there. See what's going to work best for your community for what you're trying to do in your initiatives, right? Find those tools and then make sure you have an inclusive community that will share your virtual event.
Very important, that inclusive community. Thanks, Sammy. Julia.
I muted and then I unmuted. So I'm going to have a little fun with the future of virtual events. I'm going to say, take a look into AR and VR and rooms. I'm saying that, like,
Yes.
being able to feel like you're walking up to somebody, that you're touching things, so to speak, or whatever. That I've been seeing a lot of that. So I'm gonna go a little outside the box with my answer.
Boom.
My answer.
Thank you for sharing that. Ashley, I just want to say thank you for being here. I know you have to scoot because she has another meeting. So I just want to say thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for sharing your virtual event experience with our audiences today.
Have a good day. Pleasure at being on this panel with everybody. I am just running this meeting, so have a good day.
Bye. See ya.
Bye.
All right. So I think last but not least, Pixie.
Hybrid in looking at both ways, right? So virtually, because we have that kind of almost 2 years experience with virtual, and we know it's here to stay, it's not going to go away. However, because of the fact that virtual is growing, it has increased an extreme demand to ensure that events have world-class experiences,
Yes.
whether it be virtual or physical, because we are expecting here. So if you're going to put me on a virtual event, you're going to put me on a call, and it's not going to be just something that I listen to someone, one person doing a
Talking
live
heads.
randomly. Exactly.
Yes.
You need to have a whole engagement behind it. That's why I'm obsessed with these different tools like Slido, or you have Hopin, or
And play
Devi.
games.
Like, there's
Yes.
all these platforms that are really designed for you to have an amazing online engagement experience. And for offline, I'm gonna be like, hey, if I'm gonna show my presence here, you gotta
Yep.
give me the world.
Yes.
What's gonna be like when I go offline? Shitty pizzas is not gonna be the answer anymore. I'm sorry.
Exactly. I love
I
that.
am expecting the world. I think that because this expectation is going to be so high for online and offline, I see offline going to be very curated, very high quality small groups. I'm not going to want to be in a 2,000 pack conference anymore.
Yes.
I want to be in that 5 people dinner. I want to be
Yes.
somewhere that is very, very special experience that I'm going to go home and remember everything. And that's where I see offline going to be. And online is going to be that way. How can you scale but keep people excited?
I love that you mentioned that. I'm having goosies. So, folks, I'm going to kind of like piggyback on what you just said and kind of quickly wrap this up. But I just want to say, I don't know who you are, Facebook user, because I just want to say good conversation as always. Thank you so much for the comment. We try very hard. So to what you just said, Pixie, when I started this journey, right, live video conversations, a big part of it is figuring out, like, how can I make this more engaging and that people have this FOMO, like Sammy says, I don't want to miss that show because there's so much value in it, right? But one of the panelists in one of the panels, I can't remember which one it was, but we had talked about, I'm having Zeph Goosies again because I know I'm spot on, because it was mentioned that live, this live virtual events portion or segment will be the lead to bigger magical things that could happen in person. Just like you said, that 5-person dinner, right? Or, hey, I'm going to go to a retreat because it's very magical. I'm going to have a retreat with Pixie, Patrick, Julia, Sammy in Greece. I don't know, but that makes it very valuable. So we use the live virtual events or virtual events to grow the community first, get to know people before we meet them in person. What came out from my experience when I started live streaming, live broadcasting was this. People saw me on the videos and they go like, oh my gosh, she's exactly how she is in person. So I'm like, oh, great. So when we actually meet in person, so I had Liron Glickman from Israel. She started the show with me as my sidekick on Google Hangouts. We had this show called Creative Chat Cafe. She was in Israel, and the other gal from Alabama, the introvert I mentioned about earlier. So I've not met the gal from Alabama, I think, since we started, which was probably a decade ago. And Lerone, when she came to the US and in New York, when we met in person, it was like, oh my God, it's so good to see you in person. It became a very, very heightened, magical experience. And that is just what you said there, Pixie, because I don't want anymore to be in a room with 2,000 people. I'm wasting my time. I don't get to pre-qualify my connections, but by showing up consistently through a structured model format of a virtual event, right? We're able to build this connection because we're showing up consistently. Like Sammy, you do this on Clubhouse. You're just like, I don't have to shower. I don't have to put any deodorant on, right? I don't have to brush my teeth.
Those are good practices anyway.
Anyway. But I like to mention that because so for all of you folks out there who just still think like, yeah, I don't want to do virtual events because it's not personal. Think about it. You don't, if not brushing your teeth, not putting deodorant on, or not showering inspires you to still make a connection. Do it.
In the Clubhouse community, there's a lot of people who said that too, right? They it's easier for them to communicate, to say something, to be a speaker, because they're not in front of everybody. You have your one profile picture and that's it. So a lot of people start off by speaking in smaller groups. Like there's like four people, like here, right? There's like 4 or 5 people in the Clubhouse room, and now they'll come on stage and they'll talk that way. And then they'll build up to 10 people and then 20 people. Now they're speaking in front of these people because they built their confidence.
Exactly. And just like, Patrick could say this, an introvert suddenly gets that, oh, wow, I can do this. That's why I wanted to bring all the people in my tribe who's leveraging virtual events to kind of share their journey, because my journey is not the same with Patrick's or Pixie's or Sammy's or Julia's, but you can really take something away and make it your own. So that said, I just want to say thank you all for being here. I just want to put a few, a few comments up here. Vince Hill, thank you for tuning in all the way from California. Are you in California? But anyways, I'm not sure if you are there, but great Jams says, see, John Campbell says, I would love to talk to you about a future event, Zeph. This is why I show up. All right, everybody, to all my guests here, thank you so much for saying yes and coming on the show and sharing your experiences. To all of you, we'll see you probably at the expo September 15, and you can get that information at wedovirtualevents.live/VN Expo. And you might see some of our, guest speakers join us for that event. Until then, we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.